and welcome to my first podcast ever and my first video on this channel. On this channel, I'm going to be doing a little mini series, and it's going to be about beauty standards throughout history. Today, we're going to be talking about the Renaissance and specifically their beauty standards. Before we get started, we're going to need to know a little bit information about exactly what the Renaissance era is. So, what is it? It's a time period between 14th and 16th century, roughly. It was a rebirth from the Middle Ages, and that's kind of where it gets hazy of the time. But lots of a change occurred over this time with art and the culture itself. And the Renaissance, when you hear it, you mainly think of the art and the artists that were mainly popular in this time. So women were definitely heavily affected by the art standards of this. And that's where I think most of the women got their ideal body and hair type and other aspects of what they should be in the standards. So, moving on, we're going to be talking about their desired body type. The body type that they wanted in this era was voluptuous, or in other words, over-exaggerated curviness. It was a big contrast compared to what their actual goal was, and their actual goal was to look very young and youthful. So I don't know really how this compares to that. But the features that they used or considered to be youthful was pale skin, big eyes, lively lips, rosy cheeks, and large forehead. That one being the strangest, I can tell you that. I don't understand it myself, but we're gonna go with it. The popular hair color that was for that time period was strawberry blonde or blonde. Mainly strawberry blonde, preferably, but if you were blonde, you were also very sought after. The hairstyle that they did or wanted with that color was curled or wavy with light curls. That was to show the youthfulness of your face and facial structure. They wanted you to be pale to show your wealth. So the paler you were, the wealthier you were. Because it corresponded, it was, I don't need to go outside because I have people to go outside for me. So because I never went outside, I'm very pale, and that's how it kind of corresponded. They actually plucked their hairline to achieve the bigger forehead. And this sounds so painful because they would pluck inches off their hairline or tied ribbons on their hairline or other accessories to cover it up to give the illusion of a bigger forehead. But most commonly, they plucked inches off their hairline. And it makes me wonder if that's where the phrase beauty is pain or pain is beauty comes from, because ouch. For their eyebrows, most women were in disagreement with this. Either your eyebrows were dark with very, very thin, but were a dark contrast to your pale skin, or women did no eyebrows or very, very thin, light eyebrows to make them look like they weren't there. And that was also apparently very popular, and I don't know why. That's kind of weird to me. I don't understand it. Another thing that they achieved by looking youthful was their smooth skin. They wanted the smoothest skin with no blemishes or no imperfections. They did this by using moisturizers and a lot of makeup, I must say. Yeah. So it was a big debate on whether or not that the eyebrows were supposed to be dark and thin, or thin and non-existent, or very, very light. That's where it kind of gets hazy as well in history. especially for beauty, and I don't understand why. But moving on to the makeup and what they used lead powder if they chose to darken their eyebrows directly to the face. That's how they applied it. Just lead, grind it up into a powder or mineral. I don't need to be the one to say that. That sounds very dangerous. Their moisturizers that they moved to gain smooth skin were made of mercury and or of sulfur. Again, very dangerous. Let's just assume that this makeup is always dangerous. That's what it is. They would oil their eyelashes to make them seem thinner and more doe-eyed, or brighter, I should say. Not doe-eyed. What was I thinking? But brighter. And what that did was, in the middle of the day or some point during the day, the oil would eventually run off the eyelashes and into the eye, causing a severe burning sensation on their face or around the eyes, and it could potentially cause them to go temporarily blind. That not being as bad as what we're later going to see or talk about. They line their eyes with kohl, and not the coal that you burn, but kohl as in KOHL. It was a dark mineral powder that they used to line their eyes to make them appear whiter and brighter. But they also put in belladonna, which was a specific herb that they used to make them glossy and whiter looking. And although that they cause great effects for the eyes, the consequences were very painful because it would cause permanent burning sensations on the face and cause you to go permanently blind. So I don't know if I would use that technique personally. To make themselves look paler, they would apply leeches to their ears. The leeches would suck up their blood to the head to get more and give them like they're about to pass out look, but not passed out look. They're still alive, but they're extremely pale and looking like they're about to die. That's the whole point of the leeches on the ear. For their lips, they used vermilion, which was a red powder or put into a cream or condensed into a cream to apply to the lips and cheeks to give them the look that they're still alive and very young looking. You can ask them for yourself. I don't understand it either. It seems like a contradiction to me. For women with dark hair that wasn't the ideal, they would use they would bleach their hair in the sunlight. So they used hats called Bentian hats, and what they were basically was hats that had the cut out tops, so only your hair would be seen or exposed to the sunlight. And they spent many hours of the day in those hats outside just to bleach the hair to get a light blonde. Now, using that can actually be dangerous because it puts in jeopardy the ideal of pale skin. But what they did to make sure that they don't get tan was they put sunscreen on and a light fabric on their arms and legs to cover their bodies to make sure that no freckle or any tan would appear on their skin. So overall, that seemed very painful to me, and I would not want to be doing that, but that's what the beauty standards were. So I'm going to move on to the fashion portion of the Renaissance era. Now, many things stayed the same over the years, but minute details either got changed or completely disappeared. But it's remotely the same. So the dresses that the women's wore were full-length dresses all the way to the floor with a tighter top and a fuller bottom to give them an hourglass look. If you know what an hourglass looks like, you would understand what they're trying to achieve. Because if you were a rich woman, your dresses were most likely made out of velvet, satin, or cotton, because those were the most expensive and most elaborate and embellished type of material you could get. If you were on the poorer side, you would use other cheap materials like linen, which was a thinner and softer and less bulky and restricting material so they could work. For the necklines on the dresses, they were cut in a way where the entire upper chest and collarbone would be exposed while keeping everything still covered and decent that was appropriate for outerwear. And usually that was called what I think was a French line cut. I'm not 100% sure on that, but that's what I remember seeing. All of this seems very high maintenance to me. It's very important for the women in that era to be seen as the most beautiful and most desired, because that would signify that they were the most popular and the better off with their life, even though they were using very dangerous makeup products that I would hope no one in this century uses. So that's why appearance is such a big deal, because it corresponds with their wealth, and in that time period, the wealthier you were, the better off you would be in life. And that's just how it is. So that's my ending of my podcast. If you want more information, you could go to the websites that I use, which include history.com, lazanamakeup.com, bustle.com, and beautydefined.com, as well as bellaonline.com. And the University of Michigan actually had an article on the fashion of the Renaissance era, especially on women and men and children, but I focused on the women part because beauty standards for women. So overall, if you want to go check out this information for yourself, you can go to any of those websites or read that article that I talked about. This is a very interesting era, and I'm shocked at some of the things they've done. But I hope you enjoyed my first podcast in this mini-series, and there is going to be a lot more. Next, I believe I'm going to be doing Victorian era. I think that's next. I'm pretty sure. So, hope you enjoyed, and bye-bye.